It's
Let's just
it's
wait for
live
a
now.
minute. It's live,
Live
but
now.
let's just wait for a minute or two so
Okay.
that the participants can join.
Yeah.
The link hasn't been posted.
It's okay. It's okay. I can copy the link from. We are live,
Yeah.
so we can begin.
अभी तो
Well, let's just put it on the FIP Telegram group, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Then we.
I did not find the link in the Telegram also.
This link won't be given in the.
Ah, yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
We are good to go.
Okay. So we have the link now. Let's just wait for a minute for Sir to come and then we begin. Okay.
Live streaming has started?
Yes, sir. Well, I'm beginning this session. Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all on the behalf of the organizing team of this faculty induction and orientation program. I welcome the participants and our speaker for today, Professor C.S. Sharma, sir. I also welcome my entire team. The topic for today is mindset, growth, inclusivity, and differences, and modern pedagogical strategies. Well, before I introduce the topic to you further, I'm very happy reading the discussion forum, and I'm quite sure that the last few days have been knowledge enriching for all of us. We have tried to cover up a range of important issues in the teaching learning space. And now the today's session is going to introduce you to different approaches required to understand the theory, method, and philosophy of teaching and learning in the postmodern era. As teachers, we know that we should be well versed with the ways that can assist us in taking into account individual identity and thinking so that each and every student can develop critical thinking, self expression, and other parameters that are necessary to embark in the global world and multidisciplinary scenario. This session will help us to re-evaluate our ways of teaching and bonding with the students. Also, before I finally introduce our honorable and exceptional speaker formally, I would like to request all the participants to post their observations, comments, and questions in the YouTube chat box. They will be taken at the end of the session. Now, excited to welcome Professor C.S. Sharma, sir. He's a passionate teacher and researcher, and that is why it is always a happy experience to hear and learn from him. I'll give a brief introduction to some of his outstanding achievements. So the speaker of today, Professor C.S. Sharma, sir, he's a distinguished educator with broad experience in India and overseas in teaching, program development, institution building, finance performance, and business development. Author of 11 books and 47 research papers with publications on diverse topics, Sir has acted in a consultative capacity to corporations, renowned institutions of higher learning, and is a sought-after speaker, notably in research methodology, human behavior, and finance. Currently, professor at Sri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi. Sir was earlier the director at Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Management Studies and JRE Group of Institutions. Apart from supervising many PhD scholars at IIT Delhi, Department of Commerce, University of Delhi, and Amity University, he has conducted numerous workshops and training programs at various colleges, universities, and even for Government of India. He's coordinator of National Resource Center, sponsored by Ministry of Education at Sri Ram College of Commerce, which runs national level refresher programs under ARPIT. So the portal is all yours, sir, now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Samanta, Dr. Kelata, Dr. Shruti Jain, and Dr. Shipra, Dr. Aparajita Majumdar, and other members of the team. And of course, my very warm welcome to all the participants who have joined this program. The topic that has been given to me is on mindsets, diversity, inclusivity, and pedagogical strategies. Well, I will begin with my discourse, my discussion shall be as follows. First, I shall dwell upon pedagogical strategy and learning. Then I will come over to the mindsets. And after mindset, I will talk about inclusivity. And again, I will come back to pedagogical strategies. I have been given about an hour and a half. I hope I am able to complete the entire spectrum within this short span of 1 hour, 30 minutes. You see, most of us are teachers here. I think all the participants are teachers here because it is an induction program. So we all know what pedagogy is about. Pedagogy is not merely method of teaching or style of teaching. It is beyond teaching in the sense that it is about learning. And learning what? As teachers at every level, whether we are at the level of nursery or we are guiding, supervising research at PhD level or DLit level, the pedagogy or the learning process has to encompass and must encompass two things. Number one, the subject related matter. And number two, the attitude. And here, when we talk of the attitude is one explicit and the second is implicit. We often talk about the explicit discussion that we have. For example, what I am going to talk today or what you are listening from the resource persons. That is one learning, that is explicit learning. But within the undercurrents of what is being taught, what is being explained, there is an implicit learning also, which eventually becomes part of our conditioning as learners. So when we discuss about the pedagogical strategies, dear friends, the pedagogical strategy have to focus not only on the delivery of the curriculum or the subject, or at research level, say, the orientation of the work while we are advancing the frontiers of knowledge, but also at the same time, talking about the attitudes, the inclinations, so that we become better person also. Now, as far as learning is concerned, what is the meaning of learning? I would put it like this. I often ask a question, very often, a question. What is the difference between us, human beings, and a player who is sitting in a computer game? For example, I'll put it like this. For example, suppose I am playing chess on a computer. All right. Now, what happens in the chess game? I would make a move here, and the player sitting inside the computer also makes a move. And the game goes on. And in the process, what happens? I here, sitting here, am evaluating the various possibilities, various alternatives, or in simple words, I would say various courses of action. And the same thing is being done by the computer, the player who is sitting inside the computer. Now reflect on your lives in a moment, for a moment, and see what is the difference between you and him. Now, I do not have opportunity for having interactive session with you. I cannot have your responses directly. But I have posed this question in a large number of workshops. And now there is a compulsion that you will have to trust me. Trust me on the conclusion that we always arrived at. The conclusion always was that at least in 90% of our responses, we are acting as a programmed individual. Our responses are what we have already learned. That is to say, what we have learned, what learning is, what? Learning and use of learning is concerned with what? Learning and use of learning is concerned with facing a situation, evaluating a situation, then identifying various courses of action and choosing one of the course of action. If I put it mathematically, it can be said that we generate the probability distribution of alternative courses of action and choose that course of action which has maximum or highest probability of success. In very simple words, once again, we have learned over a long period of time whatever has been taught to us as a result of our interaction with our parents, with our relatives, with friends, peers, with the kind of books that we are exposed to, and the kind of education that we are exposed to, the films, the books, and literature, or whatever we have come across. And all that becomes part of our subconscious. And it is that subconscious, which we are not aware of, that controls, without our knowing, our responses. That is what actually learning is. But this learning is what we will call zero-level learning. By zero-level learning means that this learning comes automatically to us. When we are solving mathematics, it is, or we say, for example, I've taken a course in mathematics. I go and attend the classes as we all did during our school days. We go to the classroom, teacher teaches us, we go back home, we pick up the book, we practice. What are we doing? We are only trying to pick up a way of solving the problems. And this becomes eventually part of our subconscious. When the similar problems come, we immediately are able to solve them. Because our mind, our subconscious mind has been filled with the method of solving those kind of problems. And since there is an element of creativity also, so if different problems come, we are able to resolve those also. But this kind of creativity does not necessarily make us beyond the zero-level learning. We are still at zero-level learning. We are acting still in a programmed fashion. For example, I am talking right now. My gestures, my tenor, my tone, my paraverbal communication, choice of words, the kind of vocabulary I'm picking up, it all is coming from my subconscious mind. I am, to that extent, programmed. My learning is limited to my program. The way the player sitting in the computer program in the game is there. And this is called zero-level learning. And 90% of the times, my dear friends, 90% of the times, we are in the, if you allow me to use the word, trap of zero-level learning. And next level of learning is that we break this program and go beyond this. Now, what the program is, let me repeat. What the program is? Program is that we have been, because of the information that we have received as a result of our interaction since the moment we have come out of the womb of a mother, with our interaction with our parents, with the people around, with the relatives, friends, peers, classmates, school teachers, books, literature, movies, and so on, whatever, that all has got stored into our subconscious mind, has become part of our conditioning. And whenever we are faced with a situation, we, on the basis of that very accumulated information or conditioning inside us, search for courses of action. And based on those courses of action, once again, we choose a course of action which is dictated by our subconscious mind. This is zero level learning. But what is the next level of learning? The next level of learning, dear friends, is not merely searching the alternatives when you are given with a situation, but creating new alternatives. I repeat, when we are in the process of creating new alternatives and new unknown, henceforth unknown courses of action, then, and the method that takes us there, that is the real method of learning, and that we can call level 1 or level 2, next level of learning. So true pedagogy of a true teacher is not merely confined to telling the people to look for alternative courses of action, to discover what we will technically call the probability distribution of the courses of action, but to create new courses of action. That is what real focus and thrust of true and real pedagogy is. Now, having understood what pedagogy is focused on, let me tell you once again, the pedagogy is not merely facilitation of learning. Pedagogy is a strategy through which we teach our pupil to go to the second level of learning. That is, teaching him the method, teaching him the way, giving him the attitude through which person can go in for creation of new alternatives when a situation arises for making the decisions in life, whether it is in personal life or it is at the time of taking the decisions. This may appear to be a little abstract, dear friends, but as I proceed in my discussion with you, this will become more clear. So first point that I wanted to establish before you was that pedagogy or pedagogical strategies are not merely confined to facilitation of learning, but it is concerned with creating an appropriate attitude, and an attitude not oriented towards discovering new courses of action, but creating new courses of action, creating alternatives. That is what we will say, creating resources where there are none. That kind of attitude. It is that focus on the pedagogical strategy which is the most important dimension. So this is first aspect. Let me now come to the second aspect of this. And that aspect is, when I say pedagogical strategy is concerned with essentially and basically with helping the pupil create an attitude for creating alternatives, creating resources where there are none, then the second thing we have to understand is how does our mind really work? If we before we can do that, before we can talk of building up the attitudes of our pupil, we should also know how does the mind really function. Okay, now there is one thing here. From mind, let us put it this way. Do we have a single mind or single self inside us? You know, actually, ever since the liberal thought has come, there has been a single focus of that liberal thought, that there is a single inner calling in all of us. And we all must address that single, real, true inner self of ours. And that is why the liberal thought says that we must pursue relentlessly our inner calling. And all pedagogy, etc., should be oriented towards helping the pupil find out that single inner calling. Well, I would not go into the detail of this particular aspect, let that be discussed elsewhere. But the fundamental assumption behind this assertion is that there is a single self that we have. And there is a single mind that functions. Unfortunately, as far as the research in the field of biology and understanding of mind is concerned, the research does not prove that. We don't have a single self. We have more than one self. And how it is? Now, for this, I shall have to take help of the researches which have been done in the field of the working of mind or working of brain. You see, we all know that we have two brains. One is the left brain and one is the right brain and the other is the left brain. The right brain is concerned, it controls our left side of the body. It controls whatever we hear from the left ear, whatever we see from the left visual field, that is from the left eye. The right brain controls entire left side of our body, including limbs and everything else. Similarly, left side of the brain controls our right visual field. It controls whatever we hear from our right ear. It controls my right hand, your right hand, and right limbs, and everything which is on the right side. And these two sides of these two brains, the right brain and the left brain, both are connected with a thick cord. So there is an integration with the help of this. Now, one thing more. The left side of the brain is actually concerned with our emotions also. And right side of the brain, there is this side. This right side of the brain does not have the speech center. We speak from our left side of the brain. Emotions are controlled by right side of the brain. Now this is clear. Now point is, do they work independently? Do they work in cohesion? How does the brain really process entire information that comes? How does the right side of the brain process information? How does left side of the brain process information? Now, this is a difficult job. So, the scientists, they try to answer this question, the question or these questions, that is, how does the right side of the brain work? How does the left side of the brain work? And how do they work together? For this purpose, these researchers, Alan Scott Perry, if I'm not forgetting the name, and Mezzaniga, were the people who did path-breaking work in this field. And these people actually work with the patients of epilepsy. You know what happens in epilepsy? In epilepsy, in one part of the brain, an electrical storm starts. and then it spreads in the entire brain, and that incapacitates the individual. What in Hindi we say, daura pad gaya, or we say fit, the person is affected by a fit. Now, these are the epilepsy patients. Now, in case of the severe patients, what happens is that the storm begins, say, in the left side, right side of the brain, and it spreads to the entire brain. Or it starts from the left side of the brain and spreads to the entire brain, and person gets completely incapacitated for a long period of duration. And this happens in case of the serious patients. So what the doctors did in mid-1950s, that they would disconnect the cord which is connecting the right side of the brain with the left side of the brain. And the researchers studied the functioning of these patients. Now, naturally, when the right side of the brain and left side of the brain have been disconnected, then we can assume that right side of the brain and left side of the brain both are working independently. And it is actually observed also. For example, when such patients, in case of such patients, when they would move out of the room, open the door, so their right hand side will open the door. Right hand side is controlled by left side of the brain, but right side of the brain does not know what left side of the brain is doing. So left hand, which is controlled by the right side of the brain, would close the door. So it will be very strange and painful to see these patients, that their right hand is opening the door, which is controlled by the left side of the brain, and left hand is closing the door, which is controlled by right side of the brain, both the brains working independently. Now, but these patients, fortunately for us human beings, painful for them, but for humanity at large, they became a rich source for understanding the working of the mind. Now, I'll tell you, I'll share with you one or two important experiments which proved to be seminal and path-breaking experiments in the understanding of the working of the brain and the working of the mind and self. In one experiment, please note, in one experiment, what happened, what these people did, that to the left visual field of the patient, that is to the right side of the brain, they showed to the person some pictures. A number of pictures were shown. Pictures included a car, a pen, a bottle, a switch, things like this. Artifacts of the household use, they were shown there. But right side of the brain does not have the speech set. None. Then they asked the person just like that, if you grow up in future, what would you like to become? So that boy said, when I grow up, I would like to become a draftsman, a person who makes maps. Okay? After listening to this, they asked that boy, they showed the pictures to the right visual field. What pictures they showed? The objects as I described. They showed him photograph of an almirah. They showed him the picture of a car. They showed him a picture of pen, and so on. And then asked him to select one of those. And he selected a car, a racing car. Now, this was very surprising. So they asked him, you want to become a draftsman, but you have selected a car? So he said, I like cars. And in car, I would like to visit my office when I grow up as a draftsman. And this is the kind of car I would like to drive. And I like the car of my father also. So my draftsmanship will be better if I travel in the car. It's a very surprising kind of finding, a strange kind of finding. Why it is strange? It is strange Because the person is asked a question, what do you want to become? He says, I want to become a draftsman. Then he is shown an object. He does not pick up the objects which are relevant to his becoming draftsman. He picks up an object which is very different from becoming just a draftsman. He picks up something, a car, and he creates a story. He weaves a story about it. This was very strange. Now, does it happen always like that? For this purpose, the researchers conducted one more experiment with another patient. A patient whose cord which was connecting the right side of the brain and left side of the brain had been disconnected. This experiment was conducted by Mazarika. The experiment was as follows. The speech center is in the left side of the brain. So the left side of the brain was shown a chicken claw. The chicken claw means chicken and its foot. We call it chicken claw. That was shown. And he was asked, what are you seeing? He said, I'm seeing a chicken claw. Fine. After that, this left visual field, which is read by the right side of the brain, but the right side of the brain does not have the speech center, mind you. This side of the picture was shown a snow field with a barn. That is a go-down-like picture. A snow field was shown. And that was it. It was withdrawn. Right side of the brain, I'm again saying, was shown through the left visual field, a snow field with a barn. That's it. There it was withdrawn. And right side of the brain does not have a speech center. So the person could not speak anything about it. Right. Then they did another experiment. To the left, this right visual field, which is seen by the left side of the brain, and left side of the brain has the speech center. They showed him a number of objects, just like in previous experiment. So they showed him a shovel, a pen, a car, a piece of paper, and so on. A number of them were shown, and he was asked to pick up one of those. Obviously, left side of the brain had the speech center, and he said that I would like to pick up snow shovel, what we call pawla. Shovel is used for cleaning the snow. And then he was asked, why did you pick up the snow shovel, dear? So he said, I picked up the snow shovel because there is a chicken claw. So that means there are a lot of chicken. And those chicken must be there in that barn. And there is a snow everywhere around. So to make a path to go up to the barn and come back from there, path has to be cleaned. And for cleaning that path, we would definitely need a snow shovel. Now, here it was. What was the important thing was, this was shocking. This was shocking in the sense that the left visual field is picking something. Right visual field is picking something, that is senses. Human senses are picking certain things up, but mind is not remaining confined to picking those things up only. The mind was weaving stories around that data, around that information which was being picked up. I repeat now. A story was being woven about what was being absorbed by the brain through this sense through which we see things. So the researchers arrived at a conclusion that we have two selves inside us. One is the experiencing self, the experiencer. That is through the five senses that we have: roop, rang, Roop, Ras, Gandh, Sparsh. That is seeing, sight, listening, sound, touching, skin, and seeing, listening, smelling. Through these senses, we take the data in, but that data does not remain absolutely objective. There is an interpreter sitting inside us which interprets this information. So there is no single self. There are two selves inside us. One is the experiencer and the other is, excuse me, the interpreter. Now, entire decision making is done by this interpreter. So the decision making, when we say which course we will choose, whether we will listen to this lecture or we will not, whether we will attend to a party or attend the program, this faculty induction program, whether I'll sit in the examination or I will not, whether I will study chemistry or I will read a novel, whether I'll watch a film or I will not, whether I'll invest or I will not, in which share will I invest, or will I invest in real estate? All these decisions, economic decisions, social decisions, emotional decisions are taken by this interpreting self, my dear friends. So, let us understand the second pillar or second aspect of my discussion, and that is that we have two selves inside us. So, whatever I have discussed till now, I have discussed two things. First thing I said, the pedagogical strategies are not concerned merely with imparting information. It is concerned with learning, and learning has to be taken to a higher level, next level, to facilitate and to create an attitude for building up a mindset in which we can create new alternatives. First aspect. Second aspect, how does the mind function? The mind functions, my dear friends, with our two selves. One is the experiencing self and the other is the interpreting self. Information is absorbed by the five senses, but that information is interpreted by the interpreter sitting inside us. And it is this interpreter that our pedagogy has to address. Now, I move now to the third aspect of my discussion. And that aspect leads to the understanding of why human beings differ. If we have to create a pedagogy, a teaching style, which is oriented towards creating an attitude in which we train our students to create new alternatives rather than searching new alternatives, then we have to understand a very important aspect, that why do people really differ? And if we understand why they differ, then we will understand why the interpreting self of different people differ. And if we understand how the interpreting selves of different people differ, we can easily address it as teachers through our pedagogical strategy. So let us now come to the third part of my discussion, and that is why people differ. And even if, my dear friends, you do not appreciate, do not agree with me, or have not understood, unfortunately for me, that would be very unfortunate for me, my two pillars. First, the pedagogical strategy and the selves. This one will be more important if you can appreciate that. So let me come to this. You know, right from the beginning of the civilization, we human beings have been concerned with why people differ. I mean, ever since the civilized world started, let us say. So allow me to use the sentence, a sentence with exaggeration, that right from the beginning of time, human beings have been concerned with discerning, deciphering why human beings differ. Now you see, in the beginning, in the early days, a science was developed called phrenology. That is to say, what was the bumps on the skull that would decide what kind of person we would be. Then came another improvement, we called it craniology. That is, the shape of the skull would decide why human beings differ. And in modern day, today, we say the difference among the people is due to their genes. And before the genes came, there was one very, very important thing. And today also we talk a lot about it. And we teachers talk a lot about it. More lot than what lot is. And that is intelligence. We say people differ because of their intelligence. And yes, we also say people differ because of their education, their background, their training, and so on. But mostly, we say that people differ because of the genes or because of the intelligence. And intelligence, they say, most people say, is a fixed quantity. It comes through the genes. This is a very popular view. But before we proceed with this, whether intelligence is really a fixed quantity, let us look at what did Alfred Binet say about it. Alfred Binet was the father of the intelligence tests. And Alfred Binet developed these intelligence tests in Paris when he wanted to find out why do the students differ in their education while taking advantage of the public schools. The public spending was taking place on the schools, and some students were not able to take advantage of the education. So he really wanted to understand, why did they differ in their absorption? Was it because of intelligence really? And he developed it. And you know what was his opinion? His opinion was that through education, through practice, through training, through application, through effort, through hard work, we can improve intelligence. And you know, he was very harsh in his book while writing about intelligence on the philosophers. The philosophers who said that intelligence actually was a fixed quantity. And he said that intelligence being a fixed quantity is a myth. It is fallacious. The reality is that we can not only improve our intelligence, but we can improve our judgment. We can improve our attention. We can improve our memory if we back our efforts through proper education, through help from others, through training, and through appropriate application, dear friends. Now, then on what basis do people really differ? So one question arises here. Do people differ because of the genes or because of the environment? Now here I'm not going into the debate or the famous debate on nature and nurture or genes and environment. But I would just like to say here that there is always an interaction between the genes and the environment. between what the nature has given us and the nurturing that takes place as we grow and evolve. In fact, I would go to the extent of saying, and I'm saying this on the basis of the experiments that have taken place in the field of psychology, that right from the moment we are conceived in the womb of our mother, right from that moment till our death, there is a constant give and take between genes and the environment. And we human beings are capable of lifelong learning and brain development, my dear friends. However, the biggest difference that comes, the biggest explanation of the difference between the people that occurs is due to what we will say in practical terms, from the point of view of pedagogy, is the belief system. The belief system determines our mindset, my dear friends. The belief system, if we change the belief, the mindset changes, and when the mindset changes, the behavior changes. Now, what kind of mindsets are there? There are two types of mindsets. One is what we can call the fixed mindset. And the second is what we can call easily the growth mindset. Now, what is fixed mindset and what is growth mindset? Let us have a little discussion on that. First, what is growth? Fixed mindset. Fixed mindset says that the amount of intelligence that we have, the amount of talent that we have, the amount of character that we have, that is fixed. It is given to us. It is an endowment. And everyone or everything, every individual has a given fixed ability. This is what the fixed mindset is. And you'll be surprised that a very large number of us have this kind of mindset. The surveys that have been conducted, these surveys say that we have fixed mindset. Most of us, we have fixed mindset. Just say for example, I ask you a question, or we ask a question from the people. We say, you are a certain kind of person, and there is not much that can be done to really change that. I repeat, we ask a question. You are a certain kind of person, and there is not much that can be done to really change that. Do you agree with it or not? You ask this question from a large number of people. You will find a large number of people agreeing with it. Fixed mindset. We can simply say one thing. Your intelligence is something very basic to you. I repeat, your intelligence is something very basic to you, and you can't change very much, and you can't do much about it. If you ask this question from a large number of people, you will find they will tend to agree with it. But this is fixed mindset, my dear friends. Now, this fixed mindset, I'm not talking about growth mindset yet. I'll talk about it later. This fixed mindset leads to a certain behavior among us. And what are the dimensions of that behavior? Let me throw some light on that. Number one, when we say that we have a fixed quantity of talent in us, fixed amount of intelligence with us, we are born with something, then what happens is, in our subconscious mind, we always have a need to prove that the quantity that has been given to us by the nature is sufficient quantity. We always keep trying. When we have that kind of mindset, then we keep proving every time, in every situation, that we are better than others. It comes from that conditioning of the fixed mindset. Mindset is that my character is given, my personality is given, my intelligence is given, my talent is given, my gifts are given, my orientation is given, my aptitude is given, my attitude is given. मैं तो ऐसा ही हूं. When this is there in your subconscious mind, then this subconscious mind makes us function in a certain way. And what is that way? That I have sufficient quantity of talent. I am better than others. And I keep proving that to myself, and I keep proving that to everyone else. That is the implication of this fixed mindset. If you find somebody indulging in this kind of behavior, you can easily draw an inference that the person is suffering from, I'm calling it suffering, because growth mindset is diametrically opposite to this. Person is suffering from this fixed mindset. And you know what happens? The implication of this mindset is that every situation for such a person calls for a confirmation of intelligence. One wants to confirm that my intelligence is good, my ability is strong, and my personality is diverse, and I am the hero. And interestingly, what happens? Such persons keep evaluating every situation, because the fixed mindset always gives them the idea that will I succeed or I will fail. In their mind, they think, will I be accepted or rejected? Will I be a winner or I'll be a failure? Will people appreciate me or people will not appreciate me? Because I am in dire need to prove that I have sufficient quantity of intelligence, I have sufficient quality of talent, sufficient quantity of character, and sufficient quantity of huge personality. I am the hero. That is the feeling. So in fixed mindset, fixed ability needs to be proven. Now, you know what happens? Another thing that happens with these people with the fixed mindset is that they don't define their success in achieving the target. Success for them is not the achievement of the goal. Success for these people is that they are proving that they are smart, they are talented. They don't, say for example, they are passing an examination. So success for them does not mean that they have passed an examination or they have organized a program so successfully. No, the success for them is they should be admired. Their ego should be inflated. So this is what fixed mindset is about. It is concerned with validating yourself again, and yet again. And there is urgency to succeed. So validation is a very important part for the people with fixed mindset. They need validation. So again and again, they would ask, मेरा लेक्चर कैसा था? अच्छा लगा या नहीं लगा? मेरे लेक्चर का पर्पस सर्व हुआ या नहीं हुआ is not important. पर्पस ये है कि बंदा ये कहे सामने कि वाह गुरुजी आपने तो कमाल कर दिया, क्या नया आइडिया लेकर के आए. So target is not on learning. Target is on inflation of the ego, my talent, because I am smarter than everybody else. This is what actually fixed mindset is about. And I am in a hurry, mind you. Patience nahi hai mere andar. If I am having fixed mindset, because my purpose is not really passing an examination. My purpose is not achieving a goal. My purpose is not carrying out a particular task because the task is important. But the purpose is I am important. So if the things are working out positively in the first steps, it is all right. And if there are problems, then immediately I will escape, because my esteem will not be fulfilled. This is a serious problem. This is one thing. So what happens is the people with the mindset, when they have fixed mindset, they are the ones who, when they succeed, they have a sense of pride. They have a sense of superiority because please note, they have a feeling that their fixed traits are better than others. And what happens? How do they handle their failures? Actually, with these people, failure is not an event. Failure is an action for them. And what do I mean by saying that failure is an action? They say, I have failed. So it becomes their identity. Failure becomes their identity. And the persons with fixed mindset, they tend to get defined by the failure. And that reinforces their escapist attitude. So this is what actually the fixed mindset is. And unfortunately, what happens with the fixed mindset is that my success becomes your failure. I'll give you one example. Husband and wife, they both go to, say for example, they both go fishing. Okay? Husband is sitting on one side, wife is sitting on another side, and there are some friends also around. Now what happens? That, they both are sitting with the string there inside the water and they are waiting for fish to come in. They sit for 2 hours. Wife happens to get the fish. So she rolls the stick, this fishing rod, takes the fish out, and then she says, I'm going, I've succeeded. Fine. Husband is not able to do it. Husband comes. Fine. Now, in the evening, they get together. Suppose the friends are also there. Now, one friend makes a comment to the husband. Yeah, it must be very difficult for you. Teri biwi ne, your wife has been able to get the fish and you have not been able to get it. It must be difficult for you. This kind of a comment will come from where? It will come from fixed mindset. My success is your failure. I have a fixed quantity of intelligence, talent, character, personality, and that becomes the fundamental thing. That becomes the defining thing. Now, diametrically opposite to the fixed mindset, there is growth mindset. What is that growth mindset? The growth mindset is based on the belief that basic qualities are things. Please note, the basic qualities like intelligence, basic quality like talent, basic quality like your personality, basic quality like your character. These are things, and these are things which you can cultivate. These are things which you can develop. These are the things which you can grow, and you can cultivate them, you can develop them, you can grow them through efforts, through training, through practice, through strategies, through education, and of course, by taking help from others, my dear friends. Very, very simple. So what is growth mindset? Growth mindset is that our intelligence, our talent, our personality, our character, our way of functioning, everything can be evolved, can be developed, can be grown through training, through practice, through devotion, and of course, by taking help from others. एक example देता हूँ, and this kind of एक example देता हूँ. Just look at this. A child shifts from one school to another. She is sitting and attending the school for the first time. Now, that particular school has its own practice. The practice is that when you write, you take the page out and you put the name on the right side of the page. Very simple thing. Now, the teacher comes and announces in the class, children, take out the sheet and write the name at the place where I had told you. Period. Now, this child can have two reactions. Reaction number one, she's completely lost. She's completely flustered. She's confused. She's afraid. She's afraid because she does not know where to write her name. Now, and she does not take any step in that direction. Now, this kind of a behavior will come from fixed mindset. If the mindset is growth mindset, it is a very, very simple thing, very ordinary thing. She should just stand up and say, I don't know, ma'am, where to put my name. Could you please tell me? You are a child, again, goes out of the home to go to school. The school bus is coming. The school bus is a little farther away. The child is standing here and it is a little away. She cannot, and she knows, if she does not shout or she does not speak loudly, she would not be able to ride the bus and she will miss the school bus. But at the very thought that she would miss the bus, she gets completely paralyzed. And it often happens with us. Whenever faced with a threatening situation in life, we tend to become paralyzed. We often react by saying, I don't know what to do. Oh my God. This kind of action comes out of us. Now, this kind of thing comes straight from our fixed mindset. And remember one thing, in our imagination or in the imagination of that child, maybe she has imagined several times that she is like a Superman. Very often we think we are a hero in our imagination. In our thought process, in our dreams, we think like that. But when faced with the situation, which is a threatening situation, which is likely to incur in some loss to us, we feel completely lost and paralyzed. And we start whimpering. And we don't act. Whereas a simple act of saying, shouting, that wait, 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 and start running immediately, would have solved the problem. But that does not happen. So this does not happen because we are suffering from, I call it suffering, from what we call the fixed mindset, which is oriented towards believing everything is given to us. It is a fixed point, and it is a fixed quantity. The second aspect of growth mindset, my dear friends, is that there is a belief that although people differ in their initial talent, aptitude, or interests or temperaments, I repeat, although people differ in their interests, in their talents, in their aptitudes, in their interests, they also differ in their temperaments. But there is a belief that everyone can change, and everyone can change through application, through exercise, through experience, through training, and so on. This is growth mindset, my dear friends. Now, the growth mindset, I have a lot to discuss. Maybe that some of the aspects have to be shared, but you see, how to differentiate this growth mindset and fixed mindset. What kind of a thing happens? Let me put it like this. You know, if I ask you to describe people, how do you describe? There are various ways in which we can describe people. We can describe people as weak or strong. We can describe people as, say, successful or failures. We can describe in a large number of ways, my dear friends. There are adjectives available in the dictionary. But there is a very important way of describing people, and that is learners and non-learners. Now, what kind of non-learners will there be? You see, when we are born learners, we humans. And remember, when we are small and we are walking, we start learning walking. What happens? I think that is our first major learn. We learn the language also. We commit mistakes. But when we are learning to walk as infants, we fall, we stand up, we fall again, we stand up, but we neither feel humiliated at our falling, nor we feel insulted on our falling. It is just a falling. We just get up. After every fall, we get up very proudly. We have absolutely no issues with falling. We have no issues with failing, but we keep learning. Similarly, when there are words, language that we are learning, we commit mistakes in speaking the words. Again, there is no problem. But the moment we learn enough to be able to evaluate, my dear friends. The moment we develop the ability to evaluate, some of us become afraid of not being rated smart. We become afraid of not taking challenges. I'll give you an example. 4-year-old children, they're small toddlers, 4-year-old. These children were given in an experiment a task of completing a puzzle. Okay, so children were playing and they did it, right? Then they were given another puzzle which was a little harder. And a choice was given to them whether they would like to do that particular puzzle or they would not like to do that puzzle. And you know what was observed? It was observed that some of the students, some of those toddlers, some of the 4-year-olds refused to take up the task of completing the stronger puzzle. Then it was investigated why they did not. And it was also investigated why some of the students picked it up. So those who did not pick up, some of them gave very interesting replies. And one of those replies was, smart kids don't commit mistakes. So I did not do it. Now this is the genesis, this is the beginning, this is the manifestation of the fixed mindset of the child. But the children who picked up harder puzzles thereafter, they were the ones who were willing to learn more, my dear friends. They were the ones who were prepared to, who were saying that we will enjoy it more. And if I don't do it, I will ask you. See the difference. So these are the children from one mindset and the other mindset. Let us understand this fixed mindset and growth mindset interface with the help of one more example. Say, for example, say in the morning you get up and you find it is a very bad day. Beginning is very bad. Beginning is very bad in the sense that your keys got misplaced and you were in a hurry to go to the office. And you are frantically looking for this key. You are not able to find it. So you have to, your mood is completely off. Despite you owning a car, you have to hire a taxi. You hire a taxi, you go to your office, and in the office, you are late. And there was some presentation that you had to make in the office, and your boss is so angry with you. He says the party has come here, the person to whom we have to sell the goods, and you have not been able to come on time. These people are sitting and waiting. And he gives you a thorough scolding. And your colleagues also are cold shouldering. Another bad incident takes place. Now, then you start giving the presentation in the office. Obviously, you are already upset. Your presentation is not up to the mark. Halfway through your presentation, your boss says, you sit down. And he asks your colleague to give the presentation, your junior colleague to give the presentation. And you are feeling very frustrated and insulted. And by that time it is lunchtime, and you discover that you have forgotten to bring the lunch. And you do not want to eat outside. So you apply for half-day leave, which is denied to you by your boss because he's angry with you. And you stay in the office till evening, sulking, feeling sad. And in the afternoon, you telephone your friend just to seek consolation. And that friend also does not entertain you well. Now, your reaction. What could be the possible reactions? One reaction could be, my God, I am born unlucky. The God himself is against me. The whole world is against me. Nobody loves me. I am good for nothing. It is useless. I worked so hard on the presentation. I did not get an opportunity to do it. This my wife or my husband. I had not disclosed the gender of the person so far to you. So my husband or wife, they were so nasty. They did not keep my key at the right place. And look, because of this, it is happening. And then my friend also, nobody is mine. I am not appreciated by everyone. Now, dear friends, this is one attitude. Here I am seeking appreciation. What has happened? He got misplaced. You got a taxi. You reached office late. Obviously, boss will be angry. Presentation was there. Objective of the coming to office was to win the sales rather than sulking. Your friend could not have, might be having his own problems. So this could be second reaction, that you take everything in its own stride. That it is very simple for you. It's not a question of life and death for you, my dear friends. So dear friends, the first reaction would be from fixed mindset, where your own self, because you are always in the judgmental mode, you are always in the validation mode, you are always in seeking appreciation mode, you are in what we will call fixed mindset mode, dear friends. And in the second one, you are growth oriented. And when you are growth oriented, what do? You focus on developmental dimension of your personality. And you have, therefore, you create meaning where there is none. Please understand this. You create meaning where there is none. You create hope where there is none. There is always a next opportunity when you are growth oriented. You are learning oriented. Every experience is for better. Doesn't matter. I have forgotten keys. This time I'll do better. Maybe I'll take it in my own stride. Boss is scolding. It is an improvement, for opportunity for improvement. Presentation by the junior person. My team is growing. And sales has to be achieved. That is better. Your entire thing. Friend could not respond to you well. Doesn't matter. He could have had his own problems. So this is how we really differentiate between the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. Now, one thing more. Another thing I will say. The two mindsets become different in picking up the opportunities. You see, from our childhood, all of us have heard, strike the iron when it is hot. Or opportunity, whenever the opportunities come, they must be grabbed, and they must be grabbed, and they must be made full use of, if not exploited. Now, studies have been conducted regarding this. What kind of mindsets are able to seize the opportunities, and what kind of mindsets are not able to seize the opportunities. One experiment was conducted at Hong Kong University. In Hong Kong University, everything is in English. The medium of instruction is English. The syllabus is in English. The exams are in English. Conversation is in English. Most professors speak in English, and so on. And the people who are coming from the background of China, Chinese language, so Mandarin and others, they find it difficult to adjust. Now, one experiment was conducted over there. And what that experiment was, it was a very interesting experiment. Experiment was that the training in English will be offered to these students who are not good in English. And these students were divided into two groups. So they were asked a question. First question was asked, you have a certain amount of intelligence and you cannot change it. Do you agree or disagree? Yes or no? Second question was asked, you can always change your intelligence substantially. Yes or no? So obviously, the students who said yes to the first question, and what was the first question? You have certain amount of intelligence and you can do nothing about it. You cannot do much to change it. So if you're saying yes to this, that you cannot do much to change it, you will obviously say no to the second question, which is diametrically opposite to this, that you can always change your intelligence substantially. Now, the students were divided on the basis of these two questions. Obviously, the students who said yes to the question that you cannot change your intelligence, they had fixed mindset. And the students who said yes to the question that you can change your intelligence substantially, they had the growth mindset. Now, when these students were asked in the third question, will you like to take up the course in English? You'll be surprised to know the vast majority of fixed mindset people said no. And vast majority of growth mindset people said yes. And you know why did they do it? The fixed mindset people did it because they would not like to expose their deficiency. And the growth mindset people wanted to seize that opportunity to learn. Very interesting thing. Another experiment that will contrast the growth mindset and fixed mindset. This experiment can be called, let us say, the brainwave experiment. Again, the two sets of students were there, and these two sets of students, the fixed mindset students and the growth mindset students. Fixed mindset students are who? They are the ones who believe that intelligence is a given quantity. Character is a given quantity. Talent is a given quantity. Your gift is a given quantity. And who is a growth-oriented person? A person who believes that these basic qualities can be cultivated, can be developed, can be grown with the help of hard work, with the help of training, with the help of seeking help from others. In spite of aptitudes being different, temperaments being different, the growth mindset people think that they can evolve and develop and face the situation. So these students were first divided into two parts, fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. The students did not know it. And then they were given a particular puzzle to be solved, a particular question to be solved, a task to be completed. And instruments were attached to their brain to understand what happens to the brain waves when they are paying attention. Now, the task was completed by everybody. And then results were announced. And after the results were announced, obviously the task was very difficult. Most of the people were not able to complete. After the results were announced, a small lecture was given on how they could complete the particular task. And their brainwaves were studied at the time of announcement of the result and at the time of giving them the feedback on how they could improve their learning, how they could complete that particular task. Now, the fixed mindset people were found to be having strong brainwaves. That means they were paying very strong attention at the time when results were being announced. And their brainwaves were very weak when they were being informed on how they could improve the task when they attempted second time. On the other hand, the growth mindset students were paying very high attention. That is, their brainwaves were very strong at the time of announcement of the result, as well as at the time when it was being told that how they could improve their performance. So this means what, my dear friends? The fixed mindset people were not interested in improvement at all, because they know who they are, who they were, because they are very sure of themselves, and therefore they are not like this. Another thing, I would come to this, and that is the, can I take a few more minutes, Dr. Shruti?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can.
Surely, surely, sir. Surely.
What happens in relationships? Relationships of the growth mindset people and the fixed mindset people. Now, in this, what the researchers did, again, this was discovered through the research. The growth mindset people and fixed mindset people were asked what kind of partner they would like to have, what kind of wife or husband they would like to have, what kind of boyfriend or girlfriend they would like to have. And the answers were obviously very different. And the answers were as follows. The fixed mindset people said that they wanted somebody who could adore them. They wanted someone who would make them feel perfect, who would put them on higher pedestal, and who would provide them all the support that they need. So actually, these fixed mindset people wanted reassurance, reassuring partners, the partners who could inflate their ego. They wanted to be adored, admired, appreciated, because in their subconscious mind, in their interpreting self, what is sitting, who is interpreting the data which is coming from outside? It is someone who is saying that intelligence is fixed, my dear friends, and this intelligence is sufficient. This character is sufficient, it is complete, and this needs to be validated. This needs to be appreciated. This cannot be rejected. So they want a partner of that type only. On the other hand, what did the growth mindset people say? They said that they wanted a partner who would be someone who could help them improve, who would challenge them to become a better person, who can see their faults and help them overcome those faults. And they wanted a partner who could encourage them to learn new things, my dear friends. So this is the kind of thing that happens in the relationships also. And one more thing. Well, there are practically in every aspect of life, this mindset, whether you have the growth mindset or you have the fixed mindset, it affects because it is originating from your belief system. Therefore, it affects your interpreting self. So whatever data is coming to you through the five senses, whatever situations you are facing, whatever conditions you are in, whatever challenges you are facing, whatever goals you are setting, achievement of those goals will be in the light of the belief system generated by the mindset, the fixed mindset or the growth mindset, my dear friends. As teachers, our pedagogical strategies have to be such that we can help our students create this growth mindset. And how this growth mindset can be created? This growth mindset can be created with the help of right kind of feedback, right kind of praise, and right kind of sentences we make while talking to our students. I'll give you an example of this. This applies even to our child rearing practices also, how we are bringing our children up. It applies to that also. How do you give your child a compliment? Oh, you are born great. You are very talented. You are so decent. You are so very nice. Nice children do not act like that. Very often we hear this. The focus should not be on the talent of the person. The focus should be on the effort of the person. You are doing good because you have practiced. You are doing good because you have worked hard. You are doing good because you are not hesitating in taking help. So this is the kind of thing that we have, my dear friends. And if we orient our pedagogy in the light of this, only thing is reinforcement. How we reinforce at home as parents, as brothers and sisters. We have to do this. We have to encourage the growth mindset without discussing the personalities. The issues need to be addressed, and issues need to be addressed in terms of effort, in terms of education, in terms of learning, in terms of improvement, rather than in terms of passing judgments or evaluation. That is what is important. For example, one very small example I'm giving. Husband and wife are discussing. Wife says, please make me part of every decision that you make relating to the home. And husband feels threatened and reacts. Now, wife is obviously talking from growth mindset. Husband is talking from the fixed mindset. I need to be adored. My esteem, my ego needs to be supported. So, what will happen? There will be clash. So, bringing around the fixed mindset to the growth mindset is a big challenge. But with insight, with communication, be it in the classroom or outside the classroom, we can train our interpreting self in such a manner that we can create growth mindsets in our students, in the people we interact with, and in our colleagues, and so on. It may take time, but it is a viable, possible strategy, my dear friends. Thank you very much, and I would like to take questions if you have. Time is very short, I must say. I could go on for another 1 or 2 hours on this, and the topic would not be complete because we can see the contrast of fixed mindset and growth mindset in a large number of situations. I have prepared notes for this, but there is not much time about it. So let me take the questions and answers. I think some discussion can take place. Some of the ideas can come out when we discuss the questions, and I try to answer. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very, very interesting session. And the pedagogy of the session, also the way you incorporated the case studies and the examples, so rooted in the Indian culture and in a personal and professional life, equally divided the case studies in that. That was even more interesting and entertaining. Thank you so much. Now we have many, many questions, but before the questions, let me tell you, like, we have innumerable number of compliments. Participants found the lecture to be very informative, very good, very nice presentation. So they are like, the chat box is flooded with lots of compliments for the session. So now
My
the
fixed
first,
mindset, one thing more I'll tell you.
yeah,
Fixed mindset and growth mindsets, for the benefit of the audience, can coexist.
yeah,
It is not that they're mutually exclusive.
they can.
Human being cannot be divided into compartments, but which dominates? And again, the way we have been brought up, particularly in Indian culture, the way we are brought up in our homes, our mothers and fathers who love us so much that they try to shape our personality to a very great extent. And they keep telling us, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. You are great, you have to become great, and so on and so forth. The Indian culture, to a very great extent, is oriented towards fixed mindset, my dear friends. And therefore, we have to break our shackles from our conditioning. Our interpreting self has to be reinterpreted. And how? Abhyas. In the Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna says at one place that Abhyas yoga yuktena chetasa nanyagamana. Abhyas yoga yuktena. Very beautiful statement. Abhyas yoga yuktena. If you keep practicing and practicing and practicing, then what will happen? Chetasa, with such a mind, nanyagamana, which does not go anywhere else. A devoted mind, that means with attention focused at practicing what it is capable of. It is capable of, he says, Param Purusham Divyam Yati. You can get to God. I am not talking of getting you to God, but if you practice with an attention which is focused, then it is possible to develop this growth mindset, my dear friends. And giving your compliments and having your conversation oriented towards this. But what is required for this? Again, in this very shlok, he says, Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Parthan Nuchintayan. That is, your thinking should be such, O Arjun, that you can get to God provided you have an attention which is unwavering and is completely focused on the practice. This is a very beautiful thing. So if you do this, then it is possible. And yes, let us appreciate and understand this. Both can coexist. And over time, we can make growth-oriented, growth mindset dominate and help erase, if possible, the fixed mindset. That's it. Please proceed. I'm sorry I interjected and interrupted you, Dr. Shruti.
No, that's okay. In fact, explaining this, you have already answered certain of the questions, but still, so to begin with, this is by Dr. Vijendra Dugal. He asks that how can we change the mindset of students of different background, social status, economic status, and from different culture, more so after Corona pandemic, as the students are not that much interested in studies, or probably he's trying to say that the online mode is something interesting.
The basic deficiency that has occurred during the pandemic is that we are not able to create the bond between the students. For example, I'll give you the example of the faculty development programs, the induction programs that have been conducted by Ramanujan College. In Ramanujan College, the first two programs, which were conducted in physical modes and were delivered to not more than 30 people at one time. it was reported to me that the teachers who were delinquent, those teachers became conscientious teachers within Ramanujan College. The attitude and behavior of the people changed as a result of attending the induction program in Ramanujan College 2 years back. And these programs were conducted in the year 2018, both the programs. They were so successful. But today I'm talking to you, but I don't know even your names. I don't see your faces. You are seeing my face only words are there. There is no bond between you and me. I am speaking to an audience which is not connected with me right now. I'm connecting to who? I'm connecting to the 5-6 people who I'm seeing on the screen. And these are the people who are organizers. So this problem will definitely be there. But challenge is that we are able to develop the bond with the students. That is what you should focus on. So time devotion by you will have to be more in that case. Pick up the individual students and have separate interaction in groups. That is the practice I follow. If the class is of 40 students, I would call them in the groups of 5 or 6, and I would insist that switch on your video. Some of the students feel ashamed in switching on the video because they are living in one room apartment. The kitchen is right there. They all sleep on the floor, and they don't have a big almirah also. The things, bedding, etc. are stacked in one place. They do not want to show their poverty to other students. They don't mind showing it to me. So they separately call me, sir, we can talk to you, but not in front of our students. So I devote time to them separately at individual level. And that is how I try to build a bond with them. And once that bond is created, even if it is electronically, it is online, these students are not even having laptop. They are not seeing me in the frame of, say, 12 inches by 11 inches or 13 inches by 11 inches. They are seeing me on a small screen of a mobile phone. But bond is created. And I'm sure when they come to Delhi or whenever they meet me physically, that love will explode.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that opportunity. So I would say to the questioner that if you have to talk of changing the attitude of your students or giving them the knowledge which is oriented toward building up their superior attitudes, then first thing that is required is that you build the bond with them so that they will listen to you and they would like to idolize you. That is most important. So therefore you have to convince them that you are interested in them. You are not doing it for the sake of doing it. So first thing is that you have to show interest in their lives and you have to become a part of their lives. And that can be accomplished provided you develop a bond. And the growth mindset, one requirement of both mindset, I said, is that you seek help. So prepare them for seeking help from you and not hiding behind their socio-economic status or behind their desire of not exposing their socio-economic status, or trying to diametrically opposite. Rich people would like to show their house. So create an environment where they are not oriented towards exposing or displaying or showing their ornate houses. So that is up to you. For this, first build up the bond. And responsibility lies upon you. And how you can do it? Through some practice, through maybe some training, through seeking help from others. Have the experience of other teachers, other colleagues of yours, and you will be able to do it. If you have the growth mindset, you will be able to create the growth mindset in others very easily, at least among your students. I hope I have answered this.
Yes, you did. Now we have a next question by Dr. Balaji. He is first thanking you and appreciating the session. And now the question is that it's an interesting one, that it is said that human beings use only around 10% brain of the total brain's capacity. How does the capacity of the brain can be measured? How can we measure the capacity of brain?
You see, attention span can be measured.
Yeah.
But capacity of the brain is not a fixed quantity. It is an ever-evolving phenomenon. It is a phenomenon which can be expanded as your judgment can be expanded, or it can reduce. Your memory can be expanded or it gets reduced. Your application can be expanded or get reduced. So is the case with your creativity. One thing more I would like to say, I think this answers the question sufficiently, but I would like to add a few more things here, because the question raises many things. Can the capacity of the brain be changed? Or it can be measured? It is, since it is an evolving entity, we cannot measure it. But one question can arise out of this. If the capacity can be expanded, one question can arise, and the question can be, can everyone become an Einstein? Can everyone become a Beethoven? Can everyone become Anjali Menon, the painter? Can everybody become Picasso? Now here, my dear friends, in growth mindset, we say that everybody has unknown and unknowable potential. Unknown and unknowable potential. And we have to realize that potential. An effort has to be made to reach the maximum of that possible potential, and which we call that potential creating resources where there are none. Two examples I'll give you, one from Ramayana and another from the Mahabharata. In Ramayana, Sri Hanumanji goes to the court of Ravana. Ravan does not offer him a seat to sit. So what does Sri Hanumanji do? He elongates his tail. And he elongates his tail and creates a seat with the help of that. He creates a kind of spiral by putting his tail like this, and he creates a seat which is higher than that of Ravan and sits in that. What is that? Untapped potential is brought out, and that untapped potential is utilized. Another example, when the war of Mahabharata was yet to take place, Duryodhan and Arjun both approach Shri Krishna, and they reach his bedroom. He was sleeping. Arjun was the first to have come, and he decides to sit near his feet. And Duryodhan comes, he sits near his head. Shri Krishna opens his eyes, and his eyes fall first on Arjun because he was sitting near his feet. And then he looks around and he sees Duryodhan also sitting on the chair near his bed. So he says, yes, tell me, why have you come? So both say, we have come to take help from you. So Shri Krishna says, who came first? Arjun says, I came first. So Shri Krishna says, I have no means to know whether you came first or Duryodhan came first. So I would not believe you. But My eyes fell on you first when I woke up. I saw you first when I woke up. So I will give you the chance to ask me what help you want from me. And I have two things to offer. One is my Narayani Sena, my Narayani army. Name of his army was Narayani. And on other side, it is me. And I will not pick up weapon. I will not use weapon in this war. So either you can choose my army or you can choose me. So metaphorically, we can say it was a choice before the two captains of the armies, Duryodhan and Arjun, that they could either choose Narayan or they could choose Narayani. Duryodhan wanted to choose Narayani because he did not have any use for a weaponless Shri Krishna. Weaponless Narayan was useless for him. But the choice was not with him to make. It was before Arjun. And Arjun said, I would choose you, Shri Krishna, without weapon. Duryodhan laughed at him. What a fool he is. Wars are not won by the resourceless, weaponless people. It is won through armies, well-trained, strong armies. So he chose Narayani Sena, Narayani army over Narayan, and Arjun chose Narayan over Narayani. Now let us interpret this a little. Shri Krishna had the capacity to create resources where there would be none. He had wisdom, he had enlightenment, and it was his guidance which at most crucial times helped Pandavas win the war. And in the life also, we do the same. What is Narayani? We are running after Narayani. What is Narayani? That Narayani in modern world is, say, having 2 houses, 4 cars, having medals and other material achievements. But Narayan in us is the pilgrim who just wants to realize itself, its maximum potential of what it can really accomplish. The pilgrim inside us has the focus on enjoying the process rather than the result of the process of effort. The fixed mindset focuses on enjoyment of the goal, but the growth mindset focuses on enjoying the very process of hard work, very process of carrying on our task. The result is immaterial for the growth mindset. So that is what it is, my dear friends. I hope I have answered the question and a little more.
Yes, in fact, every answer has the answer to the next question also. As you said that growth mindset is constantly evolving. On the same lines, we have these 2 questions: that does fixed mindset or intelligence change with age? And on the same lines, we have another question: that is fixed mindset and growth mindset both of them, are they gender sensitive or gender neutral?
First question, second question first.
Okay. Should I repeat the question?
These are belief systems. These are belief systems. You could be transgender. You could be anything. You could be male, female, transgender, or LGBTQ, anything. You could be anything. You could be queer also. But what is your mindset? What is your belief system? It could be any. It should be growth oriented. Firm faith, firm belief. Every event has to be filtered through this belief system that there is an opportunity to learn from here. There is an opportunity for improvement. There is opportunity to go beyond this. This is not the end of life. Every situation, we are not judgmental about anything. But what we are concerned with is the growth and development, the evolution of myself and of others. So automatically, it will lead to compassion. And for this, I could not cover the diversity part of it. Maybe some other time we will talk about it. But
So
this is it. Yes.
yeah, so I think it has kind of answered the other question also, that is fixed intelligence, does fixed intelligence
Yeah,
change with age?
I would say one thing. I said in the beginning of my lecture that there is interaction between your genes and the environment from the moment you are conceived in the womb of the mother till the time you die. And there is all a potential for the brain development and your evolution from the moment you are conceived till the time you die. So potential will always stay and exist, provided you are putting in relevant effort, you are undertaking right kind of training, you are going through correct education, formal or informal, and you are devoted in terms of perseverance. That is titiksha, as we call it. There are 6 wealths that we need to have according to our Vedic Vangmay. Sham, Dam, Titiksha, Samadhan, Kshama, Ishwar, Pranidhan. Sham is sense control. Dam is mind control. No, ulta bol diya. Sham is mind control. Dam is sense control. Titiksha is perseverance. Samadhan is accepting the fact, not passing judgment, not seeking validation, and forgiveness. And eventually, Ishwar Pranidhan, attaining the Godhead. So if you have this, then automatically growth mindset will set in place. Or these 6 things, if you choose, can occur if you have the growth mindset.
Okay. Maybe due to the time constraint, I'm taking the last question. How can we activate both hemispheres of our brain? Maybe the both sides of the brain.
They are already activated. They are already activated.
Okay.
I mean, don't say that one side is activated, the other is not. They are activated. They both are functioning. The both sides of the brain are taking data from the environment. Like you are listening to me right now. You are seeing your laptop. Like you are experiencing the electricity or light outside. Sounds are there. Everything is coming. And your interpreting self inside is interpreting it. So more important is the interpreting self. And this interpreting self should be affected, should have the impact of the belief system. And the belief system should be growth oriented. That is, it should be of growth mindset.
Okay. Maybe one last question, sir. How could we keep on motivating ourselves, even though one think of growth mindset, when our efforts and results are gone unrecognized or someone taking undue advantages?
Yeah, this will happen. This happens.
Yeah.
This happens. So in that case, one very important thing about the growth mindset, and I think I have that study with me. Those who are perseverant and those who are not perseverant. Perseverance is the solution. The people with growth mindset are very, very perseverant and they are resilient. What is perseverance and resilience? Resilience is that you create meaning, you create hope where there is none. When there appears to be absolutely no hope, at that moment, when the fate appears to be completely against you, you are able to create hope at that particular moment. I would recommend a book to you by Viktor Frankl, V-I-C-T-O-R, Viktor Frankl, F-R-A-N-K-L. The title of the book is Man's Search for Meaning. This book was responsible for creating an entirely different new school of thought. Viktor Frankl was a Jew who was in a camp, Nazi camp, and he describes his experiences over there. And he said, the people who survived the atrocities that were inflicted upon them during the camp were those who could create meaning in those hopeless circumstances. Because at that time, it was not really known whether their suffering would ever end, whether they would die, the atrocities that were being inflicted upon them, whether lack of food, lack of nutrition, hard work, freezing temperatures, whether they would be able to survive all these things or not, they did not know. But the people who were able to create hope for themselves in those most depressing circumstances were really the one who survived. And the moment a person went into a little depression, the things decelerated at such a heavy pace. Things declined at such a heavy pace that the people often died. So, yes, there will be people who will take advantage of you. There will be people who will take credit of the work that has been done by you. There will always be people like that. But have faith. Truth will prevail. And the people who are watching, they are not idiots. Have faith in the judgment of the people. Some people may take an edge over you temporarily for some time, maybe for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. But eventually, your perseverance will be recognized by others. Definitely. So, you have to keep improving yourself, keep learning better and doing better. Otherwise, only other alternative that you have is to feel depressed, to feel dejected, to feel victimized. And if you feel victimhood, what can victimhood lead to? Victimhood is the worst sentiment that we can have. It is victimhood that leads to genocide. I am victim. I am victim of the atrocities conducted by, say, category 1 people, category B people, category C people. So these people must be eliminated before they can harm me. I am their victim. So victimhood can be that dangerous a sentiment. And we have to protect ourselves from the feeling of victimhood. Only then we can lead a balanced life. And when we really talk of the diversity management, here I would like to say, I would like to take the example of a very famous educator, Marva Collins. And I would very strongly recommend my audience that they purchase a book, Marva Collins' Way. Marva Collins' Way, MARWACOLLINS Way. In this book, this black teacher was teaching in a ghetto called Garfield, where the children were coming from broken families. The children who had been rejected as disabled, rejected as retards. She created out of her teaching method some of the best students of New York City. The children, 4-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds discussing Shakespeare and discussing Aristotle, discussing Socrates. She created an environment there. And to these black children, she used to say that you have to go out of this ghetto. You have to get a job. You have to become chief of corporation. To these children. And she said, you learn to speak like everybody else. She meant whites. Whereas the people who were focusing on blacks, they were talking about black identity, black history, black pronunciation. So she said, no, you would not be able to get a job, a respectable job, which are with the whites, if you continue with that kind of a thing. You evolve, develop, grow, become a parallel competitor, acceptable competitor. You are not rejected because you are having a hairstyle of some funky type, or you are walking like a model every time. You have to have a gait which is graceful. So learn like that. That is what she taught. And here we have learning, because there is a very strong wave that is going on in India for creating separate identities, like Dalit identity, Dalit history, Dalit this, Dalit that, disadvantage this, disadvantage that. So that will create fissures, separations, divisions. It will not bring about unification. Thing is that a structure, social structure, needs to be changed. And how it has to be changed? It has to be changed by partly one section getting absorbed into the other. Each section getting absorbed into the other completely, then merging will take place. And that can come if we have rightly the growth mindset, rather than something which is based on exclusion and building up separate identities. Unification of identities will lead to the superior management of diversities.
Thank you, sir. Rather, thank you so much for ending this session on such a positive note on keeping faith on ourselves and introducing us to the different selves that we have and different mindsets we have. It was truly a very enriching and fruitful session. Thank you so much. I would also like to thank my team for making this live session happen so successfully. Thank you so much for all the participants who have been listening to us. Thank you so much. I think we can end the session.
May I also thank
Yes, sir.
Professor Sharma, because he is a very dear friend of our college, as most of our participants know. But what was very fascinating about his lecture today is that his basic discipline happens to be commerce and finance and management. And today he was talking about philosophy, sociology, anthropology, psychology, different aspects, and going very deep into it. I think probably his interest in behavioral management takes him into these areas of concern. But they were very fascinating and new ways of looking at things. Thank you very much, Professor Sharma, for this very interesting and very engaging lecture. Thank you very much.
I'm always very thankful to Ramanujan College for giving me the opportunity to share my views so freely and frankly.
Yeah,
I sincerely hope that I can be of some use to the people who have been listening to me. Thank you very much for giving me this nice opportunity of interacting with such a large audience.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Once again, thank you so much.